The quarterly report arrives before the analyst has finished opening the source files. It is polished, complete, and cheap to produce. Knowing whether its claims survive those files still consumes the analyst's attention. Generation collapsed first. Verification did not necessarily follow. That split, cheap to make and dear to check, is the quiet hinge the whole era turns on. A 2025 paper by Saad-Falcon and colleagues gives the generation verification gap a precise model-level meaning. A correct candidate may be generated, yet an imperfect verifier fails to select it. Their language model judges and reward models are weak verifiers, not ground truth, and verification can dominate inference cost. That paper does not prove this article's business inequality. It sharpens the warning behind it. Price the check separately and hand the task over only when that check is relevant, reliable, and materially cheaper than remaking the work. Addy Osmani named a useful work shape in the 70% problem in 2024. 70 and 30 are a heuristic, not a measured universal ratio. The fast stretch is scaffolding, familiar patterns, and boilerplate. Then the line turns toward edge cases, security, correctness, and judgment. The exact share changes by task. The economic point survives. A quick draft does not price the residue, and the residue is often where expert checking begins. Reviewing the machine's output gets booked as a free action, a glance laid on top of the real labor. It is the costly step itself. When checking a thing costs nearly as much as making it, the human in the loop stops being oversight and becomes unpaid rework at machine speed. We keep entering the expensive part in the ledger as nothing. 3 research systems show the generate and test pattern with 3 different bounds. Google DeepMind's 2025 Alpha Evolve proposes programs and automated evaluators score them. Merchant and colleagues' 2023 Genome Work filters crystal candidates and uses density functional calculations to check predicted computational stability, not usefulness or synthesizability. Google DeepMind's 2024 Alpha Proteo designs binders and wet lab assays, test binding for specified targets, not whether a binder is a medicine. A past check supports the property tested and nothing larger. Set 2 bounded AI assistant studies beside each other without treating unlike interventions as a controlled comparison. In the 2023 NBER working paper Generative AI at Work, Brynjolfsson, Lee, and Raymond studied 5,179 support agents using a conversational assistant. Issues resolved per hour rose 14% on average and 34% for novice and lower skilled workers. METR's early 2025 trial covered 16 experienced open source developers and 246 tasks in familiar repositories, primarily using Cursor Pro with Claude 3.5 or 3.7 Sonnet. With AI allowed, completion time rose 19%, while participants believed it had fallen 20%. METR now says that historical result no longer reflects current tools, and its later experiment could not produce a reliable current estimate. Neither study isolates verifier cost or explains the other's result. The bounded editorial inference is narrower. Checking burden differs by workflow, so every claim of speed needs its own baseline and a locally priced check. Stand every task on a shelf with 2 bars, one for making it and one for checking it. Then ask whether the short bar tests the failure that matters. A bank tie-out may be cheap and decisive for a reconciliation. A passing unit test may still miss a security edge. Higher on the shelf, review starts to require the same expertise and reconstruction as making. At that point, the claimed saving is unproven. The shelf price is verification, not capability, task by task. When no cheap verifier exists, the task is not human forever. Build the check before you collapse the work. Adapt the 3 lines model without claiming that one person has manufactured formal independence. First, seal the source, threshold, and stop rule before seeing the output. Second, use a fresh model to attack the work, while remembering that another model is a challenge, not independent assurance. Third, bring an outside reviewer through on a fixed clock for consequential work. Scheel, Schijen, and Lakens reported 44% positive registered reports in psychology, compared with an earlier 96% estimate for the standard literature. That is a comparison, not a causal estimate. Its practical value here is pre-commitment. Define success before the result can bargain with you. The closing test is smaller than it sounds. Before offloading, name 5 things: the output, its source of truth, the threshold, the owner, and the stop rule. Then test the check against a plausible failure. If the check catches what matters at a cost well below remaking the work, the saving is defensible. If it does not, build a better verifier, narrow the task, or keep the work human. Cheap output is not the gain. Checked output is.